Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Tennis and Bagels podcast. My name is Andre, and Carlos Alcaraz is out of Rome and Roland Garros. I mean, we kind of saw this coming, but yeah, this just leaves way too many doors open for Yannick Sinner. For some people, it could be a little bit of that, but mainly for Sinner. He just really doesn't have any rival anymore. So yeah, let's just comment a little bit of his choices here because you could kind of blame him for the problems that he's having right now. He has a wrist injury and he's out, and he kind of aggravated that in Barcelona, and he felt the pressure to play, but it was a mistake. I'm still kind of uncertain. Well, obviously there's no way for me to know whether that was an injury that would have healed in time even if he hadn't played Barcelona, but the fact that he chose to play it, in hindsight, and it was just a bad decision all in all. He had many points to defend. He still has many points to defend. He's not going to defend. He's dropping 3,000 points now. He won Rome last year, and then Rome won Roland Garros in the epic final. Both times he defeats Sinner, and now he's not going to have those. And it's just the door is just wide open for Sinner. So the battle for number one this year is basically done. I mean, especially if Sinner goes on to actually win these tournaments. He's playing Madrid right now. Then it just basically shuts the door. He has the points to defend at the end of the season, but Carlos is definitely just dropping quite a bit of points, and he still has the points to defend at the U.S. Open. But in terms of the actual tournament that he wanted to play in Barcelona, he says, I had a pressure from playing in front of my home crowd. I don't exactly know what kind of pressure that would be, that he would kind of risk his own career and his own season for that one. I feel like the lesson is learned at this point. I don't necessarily blame him for trying because, yes, with the title, he would have gone number one anyways. He would have probably pulled out of Madrid. And who knows, maybe Sinner would have also pulled out of Madrid and just getting ready for Rome. So if he thought he was, healthy enough to play Barcelona and win, the choice, it wasn't all that terrible. He would still have the 2 weeks after Barcelona to rest before Rome, and basically 2 weeks and a half really, because the tournament for him would only start like on a Friday or a Saturday in Rome. But in hindsight, yeah, as I said, like it was just a bad choice. And Nadal was never even able to win all of the four tournaments, Monte Carlo, the five tournaments, Monte Carlo, Barcelona, Madrid, and Rome, and Roland Garros in one season. So who is Alcaraz to think that he's going to do it? Last year, he almost got too injured as well. He had to miss Madrid to play Roland Garros, and he got out in the final of Barcelona. And now because of that mistake, he also misses Madrid, where I actually thought it should have been his choice from the beginning. If he was going to be healthy enough to play a tournament, it should have been Madrid, because he was also not defending any points from last year. So he had 1,000 points that he could have grabbed and extend his lead against Sinner. Maybe Sinner would have chosen to play as well. Sinner would obviously have to focus on Rome, but now he's only looking at coming back at Queens, maybe even just Wimbledon. So yeah, he can basically kiss goodbye to his chances of finishing the year number one. He probably won't even get to be number one even at all this year until maybe next year. But if there's one, I don't want to say silver lining out of it, is the one redeeming fact about all of this is that Alcaraz is only still 22 years old. So this year alone, he already accomplished, even before the Sunshine Double, a massive milestone in his career. So the rest of the season, year-end number one is fine. Even completing the Carlos Lamb, which he would have had a really solid chance to if he had won Roland Garros right now, which he would have been probably the big favorite anyways. But all that can wait, because we still want to see his career being long and healthy and fruitful. And if he just risks too much right now, it's a wrist injury on his right wrist. It could just really be a career killer. And, at 22 years old, even with all the things that he's accomplished, there are still so many more things that he can still achieve. So I do hope that he has learned his lesson, because scheduling is extremely important. We've already know this for a long time, since Roger Federer and Rafa Nadal and Novak Djokovic made a really big point about it. And every other player has learned this for a long time now. And maybe Carlos just kind of thought that he had a little bit more in the tank because he's young and he's playing really well. So why not give it a shot? But he's got to start that early. He's got to start that now and make sure that he's not going to be jeopardizing this season and his career. You can skip Barcelona, you can play it like every once in a while, but just don't put the pressure on yourself to play it every year. Yeah, I hope that's what he gets out of it. Or pick one, Monte Carlo, Barcelona, but both is just not really going to happen. And so that really just leaves just one big question right now, and just kind of one big door that is wide open and everybody is talking about it and seeing it. Is Jannik Sinner just going to dominate from now on the entire clay season, maybe even part of the grass season up until Wimbledon? He essentially has no rival right now, and he's won the past 4 Masters 1000 events, 3 this year. He could be very well on his way to win 5 this year alone, winning 6 in a row. And he's most likely going to complete the career Grand Slam himself this year. Carlos and Jannik have a lot of symmetry in their careers right now. And this one would just kind of almost, well, I wouldn't say poetic just because it comes off of Carlos's injury, but it would just kind of make sense in the sense that Jannik just completes the career Grand Slam the same year that Carlos completes his. So yeah, that's the thing that it's honestly, for me, in my opinion, that's just what's most likely going to happen. It's not like Sinner would not win the career Grand Slam anyways, even with Carlos Alcaraz in the draw. It's not like a Federer Nadal situation where Federer basically needed Nadal to lose in order for him to win Roland Garros, but this is just a golden opportunity for him to finish this right here, right now. And honestly, I feel like it wouldn't even stop there. Like I already mentioned Channel Slam. I think that he could dominate there. I think that he's got a really solid chance as well if he decides to play Canada and Cincinnati. Maybe he wins both of them as well. He could do like unprecedented like records on Masters 1000s just because there's no real rival for him right now. And so long as he's healthy and so long as he's not getting overly tired as well, he can just really beat everybody as he has been doing it. It's only essentially Alcaraz who had really a chance to stop him from doing all those things. So imagine if Sinner just finishes this season with 3 majors and then like 7 Masters 1000. I think it obviously would be the best season of all time in terms of just records and accomplishments. He just very well has that possibility right now in front of him. I think it's honestly quite possible, but it's obviously a little bit of a double-edged sword to not have a rival, not have the main danger in the draw. And the reason why for this is the pressure just is significantly higher. It's just every tournament is now for him to lose, and all of that. Like he probably is going to be looking at it at every opponent. Like today he played Benjamin Bonzi and he lost the first set. He did bounce back with a 6-1, 6-4 win in the end, but he still struggled in the first set. He was making uncharacteristic errors. So there is going to be all this added pressure. Everybody's going to be looking at him is definitely going to win, and then every little mistake that he makes is just going to be, is he just going to waste his opportunity here? And then Carlos is not here. So it's going to be interesting to see how he navigates all of that, especially not so much in Madrid. I think he's going to be more relaxed to it, even though he just dropped that first set. I think it's not a tournament that for him is going to be holding as much value as a Rome, and obviously Roland Garros Rome because it's his homeland, his home tournament, and Roland Garros because of all the reasons stated before. And the fact that there is also no Alcaraz means that beating only one of these top 2 becomes, a lot more easy. And if you look at their opportunities, you just basically need to get one of them to lose, or just need to beat one of them, and then all of a sudden it just looks so much more feasible to win a big tournament, right? So you get a fearless underdog, you get a fearless guy who just thinks, I just need to beat Sinner, and then the rest I've just figured it out because he's the only one who's truly the big guy to defeat and the biggest obstacle, right? And 2 people obviously come in mind when this happens right now is Novak Djokovic and Alexander Zverev. It's going to be really interesting to see. Not so much, I guess, like in Rome and Madrid. I think both of them are going to be, maybe Djokovic is not even going to play. He's probably only playing at Roland Garros anyways. But in Zverev as well, even though he's playing all these tournaments, I don't think he's going to be putting all that much bank on like winning on any of those. He probably want to get maybe one of these titles, or at least maybe a win over Sinner. I think would propel him to have more confidence in himself to play better in Roland Garros and capitalize on the fact that Alcaraz isn't there. So this is extra motivation for them to feel like there's an opportunity for them, even more so than it is for Sinner. So what do I think of these guys in particular as well? Is I don't see any of them winning Roland Garros. Honestly, I just feel like Sinner's just gonna sweep it all. I think he might lose Madrid early. He might lose Rome early, but I don't think he's gonna drop his chance of winning Roland Garros. I think this is just going to be it's gonna be his tournament. And I don't think starting with Zverev, I've already mentioned him several times here. I don't think he beats Sinner. I think for Zverev, this is still a particularly good chance for him to win his first major, but I think he just needs Sinner to lose. I think he probably would be hoping that Djokovic just lands on Sinner's half, so that maybe Djokovic can beat Sinner in the semifinals like he did in Australia, and so that he can get a more fatigued 39-year-old Djokovic on his end. So maybe he can get a better chance, but I don't think he beats Sinner. I think we've already seen enough this year to really not expect Zverev to beat Sinner, even if he's actually in a more of a winning position. He messed up in his tiebreak in Miami in the semifinals. He couldn't really push Sinner on Indian Wells. He did nothing in Monte Carlo as well. It's not looking good for Zverev. For him, even though that's probably his biggest chance in a while to win a major, he really still needs somebody to take Sinner out early, or a Sinner takes himself out early with an injury or something, because other than that, I don't think that he's got that chance in him. I think it's still very much unlikely for him to win his first major. But Djokovic is really just the question mark, right? So because of Australia, I think really showed that he's still able to play amazing tennis. And if he is rested, if he is not injured, if he's managed to heal himself from past injuries like already this year, I think he still has a good chance to see if he can get Sinner and win the tournament altogether. Maybe he's still seeking for the 25th Grand Slam. I don't know if that's anywhere near a priority for him. I think at this point he just kind of wants to play and make sure that he's able to, get to the level that he wants for a few matches. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe he just wants to play just to test himself and see like how far he can go. And like, as long as he is able to play and win those matches, I think he's just going to keep pushing. I'm not exactly sure that he has any set goal in his mind in terms of I'm going to win a major. I don't know if that's exactly something that he, has in his, to-do list for anytime soon, or like my goals for like 2026. So he's taking it one match at a time. And there's also the chance that Zverev also loses. Suppose that Djokovic has to play only Sinner, and then there's no Zverev on the other side of the draw for him in the final. I think he's still pretty much the favorite. I suppose that suppose that Sinner loses early, I would say Djokovic is probably the big favorite to win Roland Garros, just because he just has the level, he just has the confidence, he's just able to pull it off. So I think he would be the second favorite now, and not Zverev for those reasons. But all in all, I think both of these guys really have almost no chance of winning. I think it's really off. I think it's completely out of their control. If we're making a little bit of a diagram, just I have two columns. It's like Sinner, everything is like basically in his control, and then Zverev, Djokovic is depending on a lot of factors. Djokovic's factors are essentially how much tennis is going to have to play in order to get to Sinner or even Zverev to win Roland Garros. And yeah, I'm not exactly sure, especially because it's on clay, so everything's just gonna be more physical. There's just way too many question marks around his body right now in terms of whether he's gonna be healthy or not, even for like 7 matches in a row. He kind of got a little bit lucky in Australia with Musetti's walkover, retirement, and then he got a walkover earlier as well. Not sure he's gonna get the same luck in Roland Garros. And for Zverev, I think something that is out of his control is essentially just Sinner. Sinner is completely out of his control. I don't think he's got anything to do with beating Sinner, unless, as I said, like he changes something like deeply foundational in his way of of thinking and of playing a match and then of playing big points. So the story of all of this is essentially all eyes on Sinner is very different from the WTA situation, where I really think still that, as I mentioned in my previous episode, that Madrid and Rome are going to be pretty circumstantial, are going to be pretty pivotal to see how well the big players are playing and how healthy they can keep themselves. Whereas Madrid and Rome, I think they're pretty inconsequential for his Sinner's chances at Roland Garros. If he loses now in the third round in Madrid and then loses in this open out round in Rome, could we still be questioning whether he's going to win? I think so, yeah. But at the same time, I think it is just really wait and see for Roland Garros, because I don't think that Madrid and Rome are going to be that important for him right now. I think the goal is pretty much for him to be ready for Roland Garros and to win that tournament and to get number one and to stay there. Well, he's already number one, but to stay number one and to widen his gap, over Alcaraz. And I think that's the nature of those tournaments right now. If there's definitely some good talent coming around, but for Sinner to lose, it's going to be pretty much upset of the year at this point. But speaking of talent, I did want to talk a little bit. I meant to make this video right after Barcelona, but this week was just crazy. There's way too many things happening with Alcaraz's injury and whether he was going to be ready for Roland Garros or not, and it turns out he isn't. So I'm kind of glad in the sense that I waited all this time to do it. But Arthur Fils, he won Barcelona last week, and he played some really good tennis. He still has a little bit of ups and downs. I think he's a pretty adrenaline-based player for now. I think he can have his ups and downs in a match as well. Sometimes he's not going to play all his best, or not necessarily in such a dominant fashion, or clinical. I think this is probably the best word to describe it. He almost lost to Aman in earlier round in Barcelona. And then at the end, in the final, he essentially dominated Rublev until 5-2, 5-3, and then it kind of went a little bit downhill from there. But I think that Fizz has such a powerful game that I think it could rival Sinner and Alcaraz. He's still currently outside of the top 20, but maybe he's going to have good enough results in Madrid and Rome to be able to climb up the rankings a little bit. So maybe he avoids them in a third round match instead of trying to get to them in maybe a quarterfinals. But I think he's extremely athletic. He's extremely athletic. He hits both his forehand and backhand extremely well. He's able to turn defense into attack all the time. He plays massively powerful shots, like from way behind the baseline. He's just a super complete player. He's got all the tools in his tool set to be able to defeat and challenge Yannick and Carlos. Is 2026 going to be his chance of winning a Grand Slam? I don't think so. I think it's a little too soon for him. I think he needs to fix what he did wrong essentially against Rublev, which was, he had the match in his racket and didn't put it away right away and then took it to a tiebreaker. If he was in the same situation with Sinner, I don't think he survives that tiebreaker and maybe goes on to lose the 6-2 and the third. So yeah, Arthur Fils, if he's healthy and if he's able to put himself in this mindset and this belief that he belongs up there, I think he really does. I think the game says everything about him. He's also only 21 or 22 as well. So there's quite some time for him to develop. But I hope he does that soon, because I think the ATP right now is really desperate for good top 3 talent, good top 5, maybe even an entirely good top 10, which is a little bit in a tough situation right now. So I really hope that Arthur Fils can get himself together enough to be part of that group and to be winning matches and to be challenging for the big titles, and at the very minimum to be a very dangerous player, to be in the draw against these guys, Carlos and Sinner, for the rest of the year. Though I did think that the win would have given him a little bit more confidence. He just had to play a really, really tough match today in Madrid. So it's kind of a wait and see. Like it's these players are their trajectory is good, but they still need to prove themselves a little more in those big tournaments. In early matches, they need to post sometimes the boring score like this 6-1, 6-3s, and 6-4, 6-2s in order to, really people to start believing that they're going to get to the semifinals and the finals of those tournaments and beat the best guys that there are out there. So that's it. Pretty much straightforward. Just to recap, Carlos made a mistake. Doors wide open for Sinner. Djokovic and Zverev have a chance, but it's extremely small. And hopefully Artifice is going to be able to be a top 3 soon. But the ATP narratives are essentially pretty straightforward. It's just between Sinner and Carlos, and now the Alcaraz is out off the picture. It's only on Sinner's shoulders right now. Can he handle that pressure of being the 100% extremely heavy favorite? Or is he going to succumb to that and lose an early round and give away Madrid or even Rome or even Roland Garros to someone else? That's going to be what we are going to be looking at right now. Just Sinner all the way through. And if he ends up not winning specifically, and especially Roland Garros, upset of the year, there's no question about it. No other upset would be bigger than that. Maybe if Sinner decides to not play Wimbledon and then Carlos is fully healthy, and then that would be a bigger upset. But maybe not even that would be as big as Sinner losing in Roland Garros. So yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And if you'd like to support me, of course, like listening to this podcast is a great option, but you can also contribute in the Patreon. So go to patreon.com/tennisbagelspodcast. And yeah, you can enjoy ad-free episodes. So, and hopefully more benefits soon if we had enough people to support the podcast, right? So thanks so much for all that. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.